Are the lights behind me annoying, I reckon?
Oh, it's all right.
Sure.
Right, I'm going to go right. Hello everybody and welcome to the Celtic Unrestricted View podcast. My name is Ryan Clifford and join me in this episode for Ross County pre-match is John and JP. John's all the way in Tenerife, living it up in the sun. John, obviously it's the result for Rangers today puts a bit of pressure on Celtic now to obviously win tomorrow. Obviously regarding the defeat last week, it's going to be a lot of pressure for the pundits, etc. Probably tomorrow morning, Celtic need to win, etc. So sometimes, John, when Celtic are under pressure, especially in Scotland, they tend to come up trumps. And for me, tomorrow I don't see any different.
Absolutely, aye. But when you play for a team like Celtic, there's pressure on you every game you play. It's an important game, but history showed you in the last few years that these players thrive under pressure, and I can't see there being a problem.
That's quite a good point, JP. John says there about our players thrive under pressure. You've won trebles, you've won doubles, etc., with some of these players in it. So it's quite a good point that John says, because it goes to the point that Tom Rogic says a few weeks ago in the Scottish Cup when he got asked about the Celtic being top now, and he's like, we were in the tap for basically a full decade. So the question is, and that for me, JP, that was a very, very good comment from him, because that was basically him saying, shut the fuck up. We're still the top dogs, and I like that. So for me, I'm agreeing with Chris up as well, JP. It's going to take it'd be a mammoth fucking catastrophe if we want to throw this away, because for me, Ross County now, they've got top six. I think they've nothing really to play for, no relegation. So they're going into this game with basically nothing to play for. So we should be all out, gone out, go gung ho, and just try and get the game done as soon as we can.
Aye, absolutely. As John says there, every game when you play for Celtic's pressurised. And it's through various different channels. I mean, the media obviously did a bit as well to try and put humongous amount of pressure on us, I would say. And that's just a week in and week out basis up here. But as I say, I've said it millions of times, right? It's the business end of the season now, mate, and this is when all your big players come to the fore, mate, when they're asked questions, and I can't see anything but a Celtic victory tomorrow, to be honest with you, mate. I think Celtic are going to have too much for a team like Ross County. No disrespect, I don't want to be disrespectful and just write them off completely, but as you said yourself, Ross County have made the top six now, so they've done their bit, and a good job. Pats off to Malky Mackay for that. I commend them for that. But this Celtic team seem to have a lot of firepower, a lot of answers, and they come up trumps time and time again for us whenever they're asked any questions. A while ago, a hurdle came up, was the Livingston game. We knocked that down. And it was going to Ibrox. We knocked that down. All right, we get beaten in a semi-final narrowly in extra time. We weren't at it that day and they still couldn't beat us in 90 minutes. So that's, in my opinion, they threw the kitchen sink at us last Sunday and that was the best they had and couldn't beat us early piece in 90 minutes. And I don't see any mix or hiccups in my, to be honest with you.
Ryan, I don't agree with you say they've got nothing to play for. The higher up in your table you are, the more money the club earns. And I've no doubt the players will be on more money for beating a Celtic or a Rangers as well. They'll be on right good bonuses now, especially if they get higher up in the league. That money will be divided. I would like to think it'd be divided down into the players as well.
Probably a small chance of getting to Europe as well, John.
I've not even looked at the table, to be honest.
I think it's pretty tight, mate. I think down for Hearts, I think it is quite narrow between the rest of them. So Hearts are obviously well out in third now. I don't see any issues or problems with there. But in terms of the rest, without looking at the table now, but I'm pretty sure it's quite close.
if Ross County get into Europe, that'd be amazing for where they were earlier on in the season. They were rooted to the bottom, weren't they?
Yes. I think they lost their first 8 games of the season as well.
Aye.
It's true what you say, John. That is true in that sense. I was just meaning, obviously, apart from maybe that side of it, we're not going to be in relegation. There's no other worries about having to win the game in a way. But I suppose every team should want to win games, so I suppose you've always got something to play for. But obviously, John, the big topic in the media and Scottish football the last few days and weeks has been obviously VAR. Rangers fans have been shouting about VAR for months and months, and VAR this, and so have we. And some of the decisions that obviously have happened recently, we all know certain things when you've been given if it was VAR, i.e. the Rangers penalty today, which I didn't see the game. I just seen it on Twitter. How pundits are saying that's a penalty, for me, it's unbelievable. The guy's clearly got the football. He's not making a tackle that's going to damage a guy. It's just, for me, it's not a penalty. It's not a foul. I thought Nick Walsh, he's always going to give a penalty. I generally thought a penalty, a red card in his games are always a certainty. It's stats tell you that. It's not just me being a Celtic fan, it's stats tell you that. But I think VAR, John, what's your thoughts on it? For me personally, I've said I was for it if it was done properly and it was officiated properly and it was organised properly, etc. But then the more I really think about it, I'm not really sure about it, because I still think it's going to make mistakes. You've seen down south some of the fouls that are not getting gave, and your hands offside. And I agree with John Hart's as well, John. People might think Hartson's full of shite, but I agree with John Hartson when he says that maybe getting foreign officials or English officials to come and referee the VAR, because it would cut out that bias, in my opinion, because we all know people might think he's a fucking conspiracy, whatever. We all know there's bias in Scotland. So is that something that could happen?
I personally don't want VAR. I think the game's stop-start at the moment, as you know yourself, is the ball's only in play for maybe 60 minutes if you're lucky in a game. With time wasting, free kicks, corners, shies, everything. But as you say, referees allegedly make honest mistakes. So what's to stop the VAR representative making an honest mistake, or his interpretation of what he's just seen? If you, was John Hartson saying get people it's not from Scotland to do the job?
He was saying English officials or something, he said, John.
Right. Because it's done remotely anyway, isn't it? They're not actually in the stadium, isn't they? No,
I don't think they are.
No, so it can get done remotely then, surely. There you go.
I would say that's quite a good point, John. Basically, that's what John Hartson was saying. Obviously, he's talking for his Celtic tinted glasses, basically, to cut any bias out in any big games or any decisions that need made, basically to get an English referee involved in some capacity for VAR. I think, for me, that gets my vote. Even if it's for Rangers and Aberdeen, get an English guy in today, I don't see any reason why it can't happen. Another thing, JP, I'll get obviously your opinion on VAR, but do you know, I think as well, with VAR coming in, JP, that maybe the referees need to be full-time?
Aye, well, that was one of the points I made at the beginning of the week when I heard obviously the vote was taking place on Tuesday. It's only going to work if you've got guys that are full-time operating it. Because we've already got the guys in there that don't know the rules. And I'll allude back to the Tannadice game in the Cup when we beat Dundee United 3-0. It should have been 4, because Giacomakis is involved with a wee thing in the box, and then the ball breaks after him to after defender to Maeda. Maeda scores and John Beaton chops the goal off. And if John Beaton knows the rules, then the goal should have stood. everybody in commentary and everybody, all the pundits and everybody at that game were all saying the exact same thing. The only person on that pitch that didn't know the rules was John Beaton. So you've already got referees that don't know the rules. You've got Nick Walsh, he's a penalty for that today as well. He clearly doesn't know football or he doesn't know the rules. Because see, because a guy stumbles or just maybe falls over, that doesn't mean it's a foul. I don't know, as I say, I don't even know if full time is going to help, right? Because you're still going to have, it's the same individuals that are going to be operating the system. It's the same individuals that are already making these horrendous mistakes week after week after week. And we've seen the performance last Sunday in the Cup semi-final. The referee, shocking, embarrassing. So, as I say, it's the same guys. These are the same guys that are being trained on VAR as we speak. And as I say, but in terms of VAR itself, I think we're the only. Am I right in saying we're the only league that's not got it? Top Flight League, but it's not got it yet.
Could be right. I'm not sure, mate.
I think, well, in terms of like say the French league, the Bundesliga, the English league, I think we're the last kind of ones to get it, aren't we? And this is a thing that's bonkers and all, guys. I don't know how you feel about this, but they voted it in. So it's not starting to nearly Santa time. Why are they starting it midway through a season? So it's coming in December once the World Cup finishes. Why? Why not start it in the summer? And don't say it's because it's going to take a while to rig it all up. Nonsense. Surely to God they would have that ready to go. If they started the process for it now, they would have all that ready to go. It's only the Premiership teams that's getting it. And that was another thing I didn't understand, right? Why put a vote out to 42 clubs? It's only the Premiership teams that are getting it. So why does, no disrespect, but why does Cowdenbeath and Elgin and all the kind of teams need to vote on it, whether they liked it or not? Because it didn't affect them. And it wasn't going to affect them in the immediate future. So the only ones I could maybe see, okay, is Kilmarnock or Broth, potential promotion to the Premier League teams. But teams that are already down in League 2, like Celtic Hearts, League 1 now, Celtic Hearts and Cove Rangers and all these teams that have obviously won the leagues and are going up leagues, but they're not going up into the Premier League. So for me, the process they've done it with was totally madness. And then the way that they've voted it in and all, to bring it in December, it's not starting at the end of the season. I think that's Looney Tunes, I really do. I don't know what you think.
I can recall, I'm sure it was Neil Warnock on the radio. I'm positive it was him who was saying, I think for instance, it was during the COVID time, when he was saying, I think it was like the English Championship, you only play each other one home, one away. Mm-hmm. If you play the team away from home and they've used VAR or they've not used it, it shouldn't reverse when the fixtures reversed. You should either, you've got to have it for both of them with VAR or not having VAR. And if you're saying it doesn't operate to December, you might have an occasion where that's out of alignment. You know what I mean?
But you're also going to have an occasion there, John, what if somebody's already been done out of points between August and December before they bring
that's
the
what
platform
I'm saying as well.
Aye. And then it's too late because their kind of potential fate might have already been decided by a daft offside or a daft penalty or do you know what I mean? To bring it in December is just totally madness in my opinion, just because the world, everything's obviously going to come to a standstill, right? Obviously because of the World Cup. And again, we could do a simple podcast on just the World Cup itself and the place it's in. That is madness and all, just totally craziness to have it away that side of the world. But obviously I had to change it to be in the summer World Cup to then when it's a bit more cooler in the country and players aren't going to be exhausted with the heat. So the domestic season, Champions League, Europa Conference, everything's going to take a hit and it's going to have to come to a standstill until that's finished. So your players are, you're looking at your players now. What was it Ange says the other day? End of October. Because it's the start of November. They're going to that tour to Australia. So you're looking at the potential, you're losing potentially 6, 7 off your squad. Just see the Scottish boys get in and all. You're losing half your team. To the World Cup. So they'll be away at the end of October and you're not going to see them again because it's like a 3-4 week camp they've got to be in before they go to the World Cup. And they've got, I think it's mandatory to play 2 friendlies prior to the World Cup as well for warm-up games. So you're losing them at the end of October. So the whole camp, every domestic campaign's coming to a standstill then. And then they're talking about waiting to near enough Christmas time to it's just, I don't know, it's a typical way this country and like the way we do everything. We're always last for everything and we're always out of sync when we do have it. Can you imagine the teething problems that's going to follow that as well when it kicks in?
See the fixture calendar, is that starting early this year then?
I think it starts slightly early. The only benefit Celtic will have if they win the league, John, is they'll have an extended part of the summer, so they'll be able to have like an extended holiday with family and stuff. Like say, Rangers will be runners up, so they'll be back early because I think they've got it's 2 or 3 qualifiers they're going to have to play as well. So their pre-season will start slightly early. But I think it is earlier. I think it's been brought forward as well, and it might not be as long after as what you think, but it's extended, if that makes sense.
It's obviously it's going to cause a lot of issues anyway. I believe football, as much as you moan about the referees and the decisions and etc., that's what footballers are about. Sitting in the pub with your pals, moaning about the referee, sitting on these podcasts, moaning about the referee, moaning about this. But that's what makes football. And when it gets to VAR, you're going to kind of lose some of that type of banter and talk. You're going to lose a bit of football out it. But again, you might get points out it, or you might get a league out it. So it's for me, it's a hard one to decide.
I suppose the good thing about it is, Ryan, the way it's going to operate is it's hockey. So it's the way they operate it in the Europa League.
Aye.
So, in the Bundesliga. So what happens is nobody's allowed near the ref. When he's told to go to the monitor, then everybody stays away from him. And so it's a bit different for the English Premier League. It's run differently. So it's the way it is in the Europa League, and I think it's the same way in the Champions League as well. Because the Europa Conference, they've no got it. Well, we learnt that when we played Bodo there. Bobo, I was going to say. My goodness, man. Bobo Baldi. That was in my head there. But no. It's because it's hockey. It's ran me. I mean, there's another one I know. I didn't know, like, until recently, that we've not got goal line technology here.
No.
Only handing.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? We're miles away. We're so far. All they've got is this wee monitor thing that's attached to the referee's watches or whatever that beeps or buzzes or vibrates to tell them the ball's the other line. We don't have the goal line technology apart from handing. It's absolutely nuts. It's crazy.
So obviously as well, John, before we've talked about the game tomorrow, there's an interview I think Hatate done during the week, basically saying that he's maybe starting to struggle now with the physicality and the fitness, trying to get used to the culture, etc., etc. And for me, you can kind of see that now. I thought on Sunday he looked blown at his arse. I thought I think the game against who we playing.
It was a game before as well.
At Ibrox, he looked blown at his arse, and we were all saying at the time, you need to take him off because he looked fucked. So does he play him this? Does he play Hatate tomorrow and then leave him out next week, or does he keep him for next week? He's got a decision to make because the guy's obviously feeling it. and he might not be able to play 2 full games the next week at his full capacity. I'm more going by the interview. I don't know how his fitness is, but by the sounds of it, he's just starting to get used to playing at this high level of intensity, John.
Well, before the Rangers game, they had 8 days break, and they've had 7 days for the game tomorrow. So in 15 days, that would only be 2 games, and I think he'll be absolutely fine. If selected, he might change his team up a wee bit. He tends not to make too many changes, doesn't he? He sticks by his tried and trusted guys, but I don't know for team-wise tomorrow. I know Juranovic is the only injury, is that correct? Aye.
Yeah.
Everybody else is fit. But I don't think Kyogo's fit. I think he only came on last week because things were going against us. I think if we were winning, he wouldn't have got on. Didn't need him. But he could make changes tomorrow. His formation might even change. You never know. But he tends to stick with tried and trusted.
I think if Jackie Marcus is fully fit, I think he goes back in, personally. I think it shows maybe some Celtic fans are kind of giving him a bit more praise now because we realise, I've always said he'd be a good player for Celtic as soon as he came in. I've seen him play before. I think you miss the physicality of him. You've seen that on Sunday when you've got Maeda. Maeda's strong and quick, but he's no got that about him in that sense, like Jackie Marcus has got. I like to think a lot of people, JP, were saying that if he was fit for the Rangers game, it was obviously the game at Ibrox, Jackie Marcus would be the perfect fit for Rangers. They would just happily take your ball and just pass it away against him, and then look at him. He was superb. His work rate, he's strong, he's physical. He's a defender's nightmare. He might not look like he's running about mental, but see when you actually watch him on the park, he covers every blade of fucking grass. And for me, JP, that's the type of guys you want in your squad.
Absolutely, mate. It was a massive mistake last Sunday. That being niche, he would have made a difference last week, I think, for different spells of that game. He wins you a lot of fouls, and he reminds me of Big Sutton, Ryan. I've said this before. He kind of reminds me of Big Sutton. He takes the ball in a tight area and he'll win you a foul like nothing. Just when you're least expecting it, maybe to take the pressure off your team or get you up the pitch a wee bit. Or he just puts his body in the right places at the right time. And as you said yourself, he covers blade of grass lovely. He just, for a big guy, mate, especially the last wee while when he's had that run of games and he's been scoring freely, he kind of presses the game, I know. Like, he does get his all, and obviously he's not as fast as Kyogo or Maeda, but the 3 of them are similar in a way to me, like Larsson, Sutton and Hartson. They're 3 great players individually, but they bring different qualities to the team that help to bring a good make-up to the team and obviously help the team as a whole. And they 3 are sort of really close to that, and they're big game players. They've already showed that for us as well. So obviously it makes the squad stronger when he's there as well, and it makes the options up front. But as John says, he could change the formation tomorrow and throw a curveball in if Juranovic isn't 100%. I even says last week, without even throwing Welshon, all right, he's maybe not got the legs to go by people as a winger anymore, but I would even have possibly went a back 3 and used Forrest as a sort of covering up and down the line a wee bit, just to get some sort of fit holding the game to give an extra midfielder. Like last Sunday. The last time we went to a back 3, it was successful. We beat St Johnstone up in Perth. And he played with the 2 strikers. So obviously that Abada played through in the middle that day. As John says, I know they've had a good spells between games now. So I was quite shocked, or I wasn't shocked to be honest, but I was kind of taken aback a wee bit with that Hatate interview. And I don't know if that interview, obviously it was done in Japanese, so I don't know if it's potentially been translated properly. I don't believe for 1 minute he sat me like, oh, I'm tired and I need a rest, because that's what I read in one of the bits on Twitter. I'm fatigued. That was another one, mentally and physically. I get these guys on they're paid well and all that, but they aren't the machines. He's played a full season and was a champion in Japan before he signed for us. And Maeda as well. I mean, he played a full season in Japan as well. So Kyogo played a massive part of a season before he joined. I think Kyogo, they said, there was a stat saying he played 13 months of football without a break, without any holidays or nothing in between. So he's just come off of playing in Japan and came straight into the Celtic team. He's made his debut at Tynecastle. So, as I said, eventually, when you play that amount of football, you're going to break down somewhere, if you don't get a proper rest. And I think you're right, Brian. I think he could maybe leave Fatati out tomorrow. I think we'll still have enough to cope, and I think there will be changes. Like, that's only natural. But as John says as well, he doesn't tend to make humongous amount of changes, right?
Obviously, John, a player that I've not really spoke about the last week. I don't think any have, to be fair, but James Forrest, obviously we all seen when I was at the game myself, I thought it was Ralston's man. I thought Ralston was at fault at the time, and then obviously we've looked back and I've just seen James Forrest talking back, finished for me. I said it months ago, John, that he's been a superb player for Celtic. His stats and goals tell you that. He's been involved in big games, big goals. He's won trophy after trophy after trophy. You could probably put him in a bracket basically as a Celtic legend for his accolade and his servant to Celtic. But what I say, John, 30, 31, 30, and that's him trying to chase somebody back at that age. I just think he's at this level of football for Celtic for what we're trying to do. And a semi-final, John, that for me, I'm surprised nobody's really spoken about it, because it's criminal that a guy who's just come on the park fresh, busting his arse, and he just couldn't get to Big Shirley Bassey. Just couldn't get to him.
Ryan, see, at that level of football, in fact, most levels of football, you can't have any passengers. And last week, James Forrest was a passenger. I think he's been a passenger for a while. He said the odd wee goal and whatever this season, but you don't know if he's struggling. He was out for a long-term injury, wasn't he? You don't know if he's still feeling the effects of that. But for me, I think his days are numbered at Celtic. Even as a squad player, I personally don't think he's good enough anymore to play at that level. The way Ange sets his team up, the system he plays, the high intensity, it's just probably too much for him now. His body's breaking down a wee bit. He could probably still play at a very high level, but maybe just no at Celtic's level.
That's, for me, John, I actually got a few comments months ago saying, he's full of shite, this and that. I'd like to think anybody who did say could come back and maybe say, Ryan, maybe you're actually right. Because for me, I think I'm getting proved right. I think he's only scored 1 goal or something this year. He's been injured, I understand that. But if he's on the bench, I'm just saying he's fit. The medical staff are saying he's fit to play. So if you're putting, I know he was only a sub, he was a sub, but he was hiding behind the defender. He was fucking hiding. And he was making Stephen Welsh look bad, JP, because Stephen Welsh was going to pass the ball and he was hitting out the park because Forrest wasn't there. Forrest wasn't shown from. I don't know if that is me maybe giving Welsh a wee bit of, it's all right, mate, but I thought
you're letting him off the hook a wee bit there, Ryan.
Forrest was hiding. He was hiding behind the fucking who's the left back, Passy. He was hiding behind him all the time. And you can't do that at that level. You can't, as John says, you can't hide. And the Celtic fans don't like you hide because they fucking tell you that you're not in the game, especially at Celtic Park. For me, I can't really see Forrest playing much the rest of the season. For me, if I was a manager and that was my player's performance, a semi-final, a game you had to win in extra time, it really sit well with me, JP, and I know I'm just the sort of guy that's going to come out and criticise players, which, again, I agree with, but I think maybe sometimes some things need to be said. Obviously, I'd like to think if it says in the dressing room, may have not been, but I'm not want to just sit here and say James Forrest. I'm just talking about because you mentioned his name, but we've not really spoken about him. But for me, JP, I think, like John says, you look at Jota, I know Jota's not been brilliant the last few weeks, but he gets the ball, he drives to try and do something. Abada gets the ball, drives right away. Forrest is left, pass it back, right, pass it back. He's not taking guys on anymore. And that's maybe because his body is breaking down. Confidence, he's just not going it anymore. And for me, the evidence, JP, is, for me, from my eyes, it's telling me that James Forrest isn't good enough, in my opinion, for Celtic.
Well, I think he's spot on with what you've said, the two of you. I think the problem with James, and John mentioned it there, I think he's had an injury-struck season this season. And it's came at a wrong time for him because Celtic are being trained now at an elite level. They're being trained in an intensity that he's just not been able to get to grips with for the beginning. When he got that bad injury, initially when he was out. And when he is coming back in, he's not 100% match ready. Because the problem is now, they don't have reserve games anymore, so these guys can't go and play a couple of reserve games to get them finally tuned in again and ready to go on the Saturday again. They can't do that anymore. So, and as far as I know, they don't have hundreds of friendlies midweek behind closed doors and stuff. So it's not like they can go and play. And playing games, regardless of what level it's at, it's totally different from going on a training part and try to implement skills and techniques. So when you go into a park, that's when you're found out or you'll know. You either sink or swim. And this season, Forrest has sank nicely for what he's been trying to do. And what the Celtic fans are all seeing now is a guy who's not able to keep up with the rest. And he's similar to Gary Mackay, Stephen and other boys. They're going to remain at a certain level. And the team, the rest of the team are going to develop on ahead of them. And as John says, you'll get away with 1 or 2 games this season where you can go hiding, and that's okay. But see, when it comes coming in the nitty-gritty side of the season, in a game like that last Sunday, you're coming on expected to make an impact. You're not coming on to start hiding. And behind a young boy who's also not kicked a ball for a wee while. I couldn't tell you that last game Stephen Mills started for Celtic. Might have been the Betis game. I might be wrong. It could be, but that's the last time I remember seeing him in a starting lineup at Celtic. Because of how well Starfelt and Carter Vickers have been doing.
Was it not Ray Fovers after Ange gave him a bollocking?
No, it was. Aye, you're right, Ryan. It was Ray Fovers. Aye. Was it? I tried to get that out of my head. It's going to be a big Ange screaming in my ear. To be honest, but no. Aye, that's right. So it was. I don't think he started many between the 2 games, though, I've just mentioned. Well, it's just been said, sorry. And when he came on the other day, I don't think it was because Forrest wasn't there, Ryan. I think he was just ring rusty. I think there was a couple of them ring rusty last week as well. Abada being one of them. I thought he was the same. And that's all down to match time, mate. That's all down to games that they've not played. And then they've been asked to come into a game of that magnitude with the tempo, intensity they've been asked to play it. Sometimes it's not there. Other times you'll have another effect, the way Abada played against him at Ibrox. Parkhead. When he made Barisic sit down midway through the game. He's in box and he scored. So, aye, as I say, with Forrest, mate, I think James he's kind of hit his peak, and I can't see him. I think he's all right. I think Ange will move on, but James won't, if that makes sense.
I think John C obviously. I was going to say something there. Aye, it just shows you, John, that see when Ange says that they train at an intensity where when the players are called upon, they're ready. I've not seen that recently. Right? And JP says you've got Abada come in and they looked at the weekend that he looked rusty, even though he's played most of the season, but he's not played for a week or 2. Welsh looked rusty. I watched Big Julian playing against the B team, Rangers B team, he looked rusty. So it just shows you that at any level of football, if you're not playing 90 minutes every single week or every 3 or 4 days, it's very hard to come in at this level and play your best. I don't care what anybody says. People might say, Ryan, you're fully. For me, you've no. I've went maybe a year or two playing football, been on the bench, and seen me go and play football 90 minutes. You're fucked. You're fucked because you're not used to that intensity. You're used to sitting on the bench, getting 10 minutes here and there, or playing high intensity football at training, like you say, JP. It's totally different. And for me, John, I don't know if that just shows you that maybe not having the reserve league, etc., might eventually just catch up in some of these players, because you can't just keep training and expect to be, as JP says, game fit, no just match training fit.
Aye, but that's maybe as well down to the fact I said Ange tries, he sticks to his tried and trusted. He's probably, I would say, he's maybe got 15 players that he calls on every week. Even the likes of McCarthy and Beaton's been in and out, whatever. McCarthy's played very few minutes. Welsh hasn't played. He's got a circle of players that he kind of trusts and depends upon. And if he needs you, it's all right. I understand what you're saying. You won't be at that level because you've not played the amount of minutes. But if you're only coming on as a sub for 15, 20 minutes, you should be able to give everything for 15, 20 minutes.
Well, I think that's the way for me, he's trying to work it, John. I think he's trying to, for what I'm seeing, it's get the game done by 60 minutes and then put on the subs. That's just what I see. It's get the game done as quick as we can. After 60, 65 minutes, get guys on. I think he's JP. I think he's wanting to get guys maybe 60 minutes, gung ho, do your best, and then that's it. Time to get your rest. But you know yourself, mate, it can't happen every game like that, especially, and we've seen it recently. You can't win every game 3-0 at half time.
No, definitely no, mate. And I doubt Ange isn't naive enough. Well, he certainly doesn't come across as if he's that silly enough to think that's how every week it's going to pan out for him. But I think, as John tried to say there, see the guys that he's bringing off the bench, they should be ready. They should be ready to go. They shouldn't be showing signs with the cobwebs oil them and like taking 10, 15 minutes to get touches of the ball and up to speed with the game. They should be fresh, and they should be the ones that are out running people and setting the tone when they come on, because they should be fresh and ready to go. And last week we never saw that. Last week we seen boys that, I mean, see if I was a neutral watching Celtic subs coming on last week, I'd have went like that myself, right? Have they boys ever played on that team before? Because that's the way he looked. The boy Welsh, I think he had about 17 passes before he actually passed the green and white jersey. And I thought to myself, that's unbelievable, son. You're playing in one of the easiest positions in the pitch. You've not even been asked to roam forwards, you've just been asked to sit there and try and stop Kent from running at you. And he got the ball, he looked up the line and he knocked it out for a shy. And I thought, right, okay, fair enough, he's just on the part. Then he done it again. And I thought, right, maybe he's nervous. And then he done it again straight away. And I thought, Big Vickers gave him the ball right away. And I went, what are you giving him the ball for? He's a bag of nerves. He's already lost 2. So that's him, he's already gone, oh no. And you could see when that happens to certain players, right, you can see them, it grips a hold of them and they go, I don't want the ball. And their whole body language just screams it, you know what I mean? And unfortunately, there was a couple of them like that last week. Abada as well, he was one I picked out on right away. Rogic, he just looked as if his feet, I think he had weights on his ankle last Sunday. He just looked dead still. You're like, big man, what are you doing? Get the ball turned, away you go. And he was turning into people. He just was making all the wrong decisions. I see with Jota, he was making all the wrong decisions, and Jota with his short corners, and then the ball was like, all the big boys are in the box, and the ball's away back to the halfway line. I'm like, what are you doing? Get the ball in the box. Like, just it was a domino effect with wrong decision making after wrong decision making last Sunday, and it didn't help us, and it put us on a bit of the back foot. And then when we got our goal, we probably got that goal against the run of play in effect. I thought, And I didn't think, to be honest with you, mate, I didn't think it was a foul either. I thought that came out of nothing, sort of thing. Then we go to goal, and then Vickers hits the bar. And again, that changes the game again. We go 2-0 up. That kills their whole momentum a lot. They're totally deflated after that. Like psychologically, they'll be like, oh no, we've got to get down here. And it would have changed the game. But as I say, just once the game goes the way it goes, if you've played football and you kind of have that hunch that it just wasn't going to go the line, turned out that was the truth. It didn't. And that was through, they've just said their boys not being ready. I know that didn't help us either. Because it put us sort of slightly on the back foot.
I would say so, mate, definitely. It's very hard for guys that have no play to come on and try and change the game for you, i.e.
I don't want to just blame him either, Ryan.
No.
The listeners are empty to think, oh, he's just blaming the subs. That's not what I mean. The squad itself just didn't get going last week at all.
But like you says, technically, we lost the game, but they didn't beat us in 90 minutes, and that was us playing shite. We weren't very good last Sunday, but I don't think they were much better. They weren't much better. They were just a bit better than us. Obviously, we've spoken about the referee. For me, was a fucking joke, but that's done now. But obviously, John, tomorrow's game, it's a massive game in the context of the season. If you don't get the 3 points, the pressure's really back on you to go and win the league. If you go 6 points, basically it takes you into a game next Sunday against Rangers. Basically, if you win the league. Or basically, for me, stay undefeated and you basically win the league. So these next 2 games are pitiful, and I think tomorrow, I'm like you, John. I think you will maybe just stick these tied and trusted if they're all fit. Obviously, Juranovic could be injured. I think he's injured, so Ralston will probably play at the back. We don't know if Vickers is fully recovered. I don't know if that's. I've sort of watched the presser, so I don't know if Julian might come in. Maybe that's why he's playing during the week. We don't know. So there might be a few changes, but for me, if Jackie Marcus is fit, John, I think he's got to play, and it might even maybe give Maeda a wee rest, because he's played a lot of football as well. And I think Jota's got to turn up, I think, John, as well. He's not turned up a few weeks. He's still trying things, but he's not turned up to the Jota we've seen in the first half of the season. I think he's due a game to turn up. Maybe tomorrow could be a game that for him to turn up and turn on the style.
He was playing for himself last week, Ryan. He wasn't a team player. He was trying to play for himself last week. Very disappointing. But with Ross County, I checked earlier on, Celtic's played them 10 times up there. Lost 3, drawn 1 and won 6. So potential for a slip up. But as I said earlier on, these players thrive under pressure. Playing for Celtic's pressure every week. And I can only see Celtic winning. The desire's too much for him to slip up.
I think, JP, you would like to think that going to the last few games of the season, what's at stake, i.e. the league, and obviously, if I think it's all down to Villarreal if they don't obviously win, but I can't see that. So you're basically guaranteed big money in big games next year. So you've got a carrot dangling, mate. Come and get it. And for me, I can't see us no getting it if we turn up. Like I say to you, JP, no matter who we play in Scotland, if we turn up with our A game, nobody beats us. Nobody beats us, even Rangers. If Celtic turn up to A game and so do they, I think it's a Celtic win all day long. I said that about last week. So I think if we turn up tomorrow with a fully fit squad-ish, turn up to A game, I'm with John. I can only see us hopefully winning the match.
Aye, I think last Sunday, mate, will be a wee bit of a slap in the face days as well. And I think that, like you with the captain, McGregor, and a few of the boys like Greg Taylor and that, you could hear that. I mean, I listened to his interview yesterday as well, and you could just sense something off him that last Sunday just stuck in the throat a wee bit, and they know they're better than that. So I agree with John wholeheartedly in the whole Jota thing. He was just an individual last week. He just kind of wasn't, to me, he just wasn't interested. I know there's a wee rumour that's going about social media now, and seemingly there's been an interview in Portuguese, John. I don't know if you're aware of it, mate, and it's it's Benfica. Somebody for Benfica made it less saying that Celtic won't take the option up now to sign Jota due to his sudden drop in form. And then obviously beside it, there was a translation of what was said, and that's exactly what that translated to. So I don't know whether that's true or no or whatever, but the last wee while, he certainly not looked like somebody that's wanting to give his all in the team, in my opinion. I think he's getting away with it now because we don't really have somebody else in that level of quality in that position. That's the only downside of that. Who comes in if you were to pull him out? But then again, Ange will not suffer prisoners. I don't think he'll, I don't think he'll suffer. He doesn't suffer fools lightly. And I think if it needs to be jigged and it needs to be done, and he throws my head out there just as a wake-up call, then he might even do that tomorrow. Jota might be on the bench. Because when he came back from injury, he wasn't straight right back into the team. He had to come off the bench a few times. So I don't think there's any room for Ange will not have it, mate. He'll not have any players not getting the role and taking their eye off the ball. So I can't see Celtic taking their eye off the ball, but that's an interesting stat you've said, John, there with the last few games, and we've won 6. We've lost, what was it, 3 times?
Lost 3 and drawn 1.
Drawn 1, won 6. He's kind of still got the upper hand. Aye, well, they made it tough for the last time, and we scored a 97th minute winner with Alston's header, so I do expect the game to be tight. I don't think it's going to be the way it was at Celtic Park. We played them a few weeks ago and we beat them 4, going on about 9-10-0 with the chances we missed that day. I do think the game will be tight, but you just never know. I can't see slipping up though. I just don't see it. I think the desire, as John says, is just far too much at this point of the season.
I'd hope so, mate. I
really like to think so. I wouldn't like to give any more momentum for next Sunday. I really don't want momentum then being given back to... You've went and done all the hard work. You've went to Ibrox and won. So there's no point in doing that and then get up to Dingwall tomorrow and getting beat.
I think John, like JP says, the last bit I could touch on obviously is the defeat to last week. I think that would have hurt the players, the managers and the coaching staff. I think that would have hurt them because we were really good form into the game. I know technically you've drawn a game, but you've lost the tie, so you have lost the match. So it's a bit of blow, and it's a bit of blow to the fans. You were all walking out. I was devastated. I couldn't believe we didn't win the match. I just couldn't believe it. I was so confident. Sometimes there's a difference between cocky and confidence. You were very confident because of the recent form. Your home, it's just like we've says, football's a fucking crazy game, John. You just hope it doesn't derail the team and it doesn't knock what they've done so far this season. So, like you say, that's a bit of a start, to be fair. But you think that with a carrot dangling there, you just go up. Don't care if it's a 1-0 victory in the last minute, as JP says, or a fucking 3-2.
Hold on a wee minute. A 1-0 last minute victory. Come on now. We don't want to have a bag of nerves all day tomorrow, man.
I generally couldn't care how we win the game, mate. Just win the game.
I don't know if we've got to wait a half 2 for the game to start.
Aye, but I think, John, it's just get the points and get up the road.
Aye, as you said, disappointed in the performance last week and the result. But see tomorrow, I don't care if you play absolutely shit, as long as you win. Doesn't matter how you play. There's only very few games left. Performances don't matter to me anyway. It might matter to Ange, but it's just all about winning. And these players have been winning for years, as Tom Rodgick says.
I generally think that will be, which I hope we do win the league. That's going to be a video I'll keep for a long time. He says it just shows you that the players know that last year was a damn squib, and they know that they're still top quality players. And obviously, we can speak about it in our podcast, but obviously Neil Lennon's come out in an interview. I've still to go through the full interview, but he's picked up again, obviously through news in Cyprus. I think he's away from here. Done an interview basically straightening the fans and fucking whatever else. So
he done it on PLZ Soccer, Ryan. It's on YouTube and it's a 25-minute interview.
I'll need to watch it. I watched the preview, but he's basically bringing up the past and basically saying, John, that some of his ex players or he class as pals, that he's basically no talking to him anymore, and basically said they were just talking shite and whatever else. So, but we'll leave that for another pod. But I do believe he's right. I think we'll just forget about the performance of it, John, because it's just getting the win. It's football now. Basically, cup football now. You just need to win every game now. Every game the cup final. But I'll let you go, lads. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and hopefully celebrating 3 points tomorrow. Cheers, lads. Hail, hail.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers.